I am your host, again, Rose. And this is part 2 with my special guest that I've been raving about on part 1. And we're going to continue. But before I turn it over to them, I'm going to read something, and it's relating to their character, their purpose, their passion, their love for mankind. I'll put it that way. And this is a DVD with George Washington Carver. This is the back of the DVD. And when I read his character, it reminds me of this family, because back in the day, I didn't know this. I just learned this. I know about the peanuts and stuff like that with him. But I didn't know that Henry Ford and Thomas Edison back then offered him a job. And he turned it down. Because he said he has a mission from God. And he wasn't worrying about fame and fortune. And they said at that time he was dealing with sickness, poverty, very fragile, and the KKK.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
And he stood on his principles. And he said, no, I'm here to serve God. And his thing was not about money, wasn't about material gains. It was about how can I make a difference in the world. And this is why I'm making this known to the public, because there always was people like that. We just don't have that many now. And this is why I am so impressed with this family, because they could have just stayed in their lovely home, which I love, the peace, the love.
Thank you, Rose.
And the backyard is huge. I can't wait to party.
And we will.
But that they came out of their comfort zone into the neighborhood and made positive changes to help inspire everybody, not just the young people, but everyone. And now they're expanding to different blocks, different village, and that's why it's called One Block, One Village, One Voice Project. So this is why you gotta listen to this. This is real. I'm not talking about celebrities with all of this millions and mansion. We're talking about ordinary, extraordinary people doing extraordinary things. These are the real heroes, to me, the real heroes. And speaking on their character, there was a local woman of color on Like It Is, and God bless Gil Noble. Yes. He made his transition. Yes. And I loved his show. Every Sunday I was in front of the TV. So he had this young lady, black politician, and that was living in Newark, New Jersey. And the worst part, poverty, drugs, crime, gang, everything. And she still lives there. So Gil Noble asked her, why are you still there? He said, I know you have enough money to move any way you choose to. And she said, I choose to stay there because the children need to see a positive role model. Because people get a little money, get a little fame, get a bigger promotion on their job, the first thing they want to do, because there was conditioning program, get out of the neighborhood. You better than those people. Get away from them. And this is another reason why I like this family, because they stayed through all of the challenges and they made a difference in that neighborhood, and now they spreading it throughout, I'll say, the Bronx.
That's right. That's how I go.
And another person that I just found out that they know, Benji. And I know I spoke about Benji on my show before. He was on the show. Yes, and he's the one introduced me to The Key to Yourself, which was the book that got me on my journey, my wake-up call.
You loved him, by the way.
Oh, yes. And 2000, he made his transition, I think it was 2005?
I believe about 2 years. No, about 2 years ago, I believe.
I think it's longer than 2 years.
Oh, then
Well, anyway, 2011, in the park where you do the rally,
Right.
I met his cousin and we had started conversing. And she told me that Benji was wealthy and had a lot of property in Trinidad, which was his home, and that he chose to be on that corner with those books, interacting with everybody, feeding them knowledge,
All the time.
wisdom.
All the time.
The children loved him too, and he inspired so many people.
And always with a smile.
Always with a smile. But I was really shocked because I didn't know that he was wealthy. And she told me, she said he chose to live like that. You know, and most people, when I introduced them, I showed him, this is Benji, this is the guy I'm talking about in my book. They looked down at him like he was a bum because he didn't have on the suit. And
never looked down at him.
Yeah, but that wasn't him.
Wow.
He was being himself, not what he was conditioned.
Exactly.
You got to look like this to fit
Role
in,
playing.
and yeah, he was just being Benji. Loved to drink his alcohol though. Every day he want to drink, but
His spirit never changed.
Never changed. So this is another thing that I wanted to put out, that everybody who get money don't just abandon the people, especially the people who need them the most, because he changed my life when he gave me the key to yourself. He really helped me change my life.
And it was coincidental that we met because Benji was the one who gave me your book.
And I didn't even know that.
And we didn't know each other,
Yeah.
and we would then meet 5 years later. So
Thank you.
it all fell into a place.
It was meant to be.
Exactly.
So now we're going to turn it back over to you and your wife. Just give them a little information about you just in case they missed part 1, and then you're going to talk about the 3 events that's coming up. So,
Well,
Mr. C.
Thank you. Well, once again, we're all about the One Block, One Voice, One Village project. And that project is dedicated to just bringing people together. It's not what can we do for you, but what can you do for yourself and then consequently the community. That's really what it's about. And when people feel empowered and when they see action with that empowerment, change with that empowerment, it gives them a sense of ownership.
Thank you.
And when you get a sense of ownership, a sense that you got involved, a sense that you contributed, a sense that you were part of it, it becomes contagious.
Oh, yes.
And people just come out like wildfire. We've experienced that. So having said that, we're going to continue in addition to meeting every 2 weeks, at the park. And our next meeting at the park will be June 2nd, Saturday, between 2 and 4. We're also going to do some key events.
Okay.
On Saturday, June 30th, between 2 and 4, we're going to have our first annual Peace March.
Okay.
We're encouraging everybody to come out with a yellow T-shirt as a sign of solidarity, unity, and of course, friendship.
Okay.
And it also has a nice visual impact on the community that we're all coming together, we're uniformed. So I think that's very important. The second thing that we're going to do is going to be on July 26th on a Saturday, same time, 2 to 4. We're going to have Family Day at Devo Park.
Okay.
And, pardon me.
Give them the address of the park.
The park is located right across the street from St. Talentine's Church at Fordham Road. And you can find information on how to get there. Just ask for St. Talentine's Church because it's simply across the street.
Okay.
So that event, Family Day, is about all of us coming together and breaking down the differences that we think exist. The cultural differences, the racial, the language. Now, the one common bond that we all have is our children and our community. So that day is dedicated to sharing food, sharing culture, sharing one another. That's what it's about. And then finally, our final event, we would like to culminate the summer with, it'll be on September the 1st, on Saturday, 2 to 4. And that event is really Community Celebration Day.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is take all the meetings that we've done, all the events that we've done, and we're going to take stock of how our community changed.
Okay.
How many block associations came out of it, how many building associations came out of it, sports teams came out of it, community support groups, etc. So we believe that you have to match action to your rhetoric, rhetoric to your action. That's what gives us credibility. That's what gives us power.
Okay. Do you want to mention the seminar you have?
Certainly. I was blessed with the opportunity to give a seminar on women's empowerment at Pace University, my niece's college she just graduated from. And it was really interesting because they really wanted to hear from a man's perspective.
Okay.
And I must say that I learned a lot about myself, and more importantly, I learned a lot about women. No, really, really. These sacrifices that women make, those 23 powerful chromosomes that women gave us that we're not used to identifying with. Okay. That shows our emotion, our compassion, our caring. And it just, doing the research really just awakened me to the power of women. And women, to me, they are our goddesses. So we're having a Women's Empowerment Seminar Saturday, June 2nd from 6 to 7 p.m. at 2311 Andrews Avenue in the backyard that Rose spoke about. Learn to get in touch with your inner goddess. Rediscover a new spirit of hope, inspiration, and self-love. Learn to reinvent yourself and reach for the stars. We're asking for an admission of $5, but that's really because we want to buy refreshments and drinks, okay? And seating is limited. So once again, you could reach me at 1-347-284-5815 between the hours of 6 and 9 p.m. and leave a message.
Okay.
Thank you, Rose, for allowing me to plug that in.
So let's elaborate a little about the event yesterday at the park. You had your friend to come out. I don't know if you want to speak on him.
Well, this gentleman here, Manny Tavares, it's interesting what Rose was saying about Gil Noble and the question that he asked. You know, if you got the money, what are you still doing here? Well, this gentleman here, he's running for Senate in our district. He went off to college, and he came back with a sports agent's degree. Could have made a lot of money.
He told us.
But he decided to come back home. To the Bronx. Well, this gentleman here, Manny Tavares, it's interesting what Rose was saying about Gil Noble and the question that he asked. You know, if you got the money, what are you still doing here? Well, this gentleman here, he's running for Senate in our district. He went off to college, and he came back with a sports agent's degree. Could have made a lot of money.
He told us.
But he decided to come back home. To the Bronx. And when he came back the first 2 years, he found it very troubling. In particular, the lack of activities for our youth, which is the #1 problem in the Bronx.
Yes.
And we want our kids to behave, we want our kids to do things, but we keep taking away the things that they can do to build character and strength and just be good citizens. So I'm going to help Manny any way I can because he shares our vision. The vision that Rose share, my wife share, I share, and it's all about community, putting people first. He's being challenged right now. We're getting signatures, but we're going to work with him. We're going to back him up because we believe that he is all about the community. And like I said earlier, all politicians that work with me, they got to guarantee us a community benefits agreement, because I may like you, but you have to bring to the table what you promised.
What you promised. Yep. Okay, so I just want you to elaborate what you thought about my book that Benji gave to you.
A book without a name.
Well, my wife said earlier that it really awoke a lot of stuff about her. And in terms of, not right or wrong, because many people categorize right or wrong, and you always feel like you have to correct something.
Okay.
I like to call it rediscovery.
Thank you.
Really, because what this book reminded me is it rediscovered for me and for her, I believe, if I may speak for her, what we already had. What we already have inside of us, and how, you know, we're all born fertile ground, perfection, as we spoke about yesterday in the rally. Our journey in life should be to keep that perfection from becoming polluted.
Thank you.
Or
Say that again.
Our journey in life should be to keep that perfection we're born with, all of us.
Yes.
To keep it from becoming polluted.
Thank you.
By conditioning, by negative thoughts, by people convincing you, by people defining who you are.
Thank you.
Yes.
Because if we're all born beautiful and perfect, our skin, our voice, the way we look, the way we wear our hair, don't allow anyone to define you. And this book really reinforced that, and it made me smile because, yes, it's a fast reading because you don't want to put it down. But it's a reading that you could share in different parts of your life.
Okay.
Because we sometimes go through situations, and you can pick up something in the book that allows you to see you inside.
Okay.
And I think what this book reinforces for me is exactly that. It reinforces for me that I'm already perfect. Let me maintain my perfection. Let me keep the weeds out of my fertile ground. And I would recommend this book to anyone because it really is powerful. It really teaches you that a lot of sicknesses are self-created.
Thank you.
Because we're overburdened with worry about what we think is going to happen. You know that 90% of the things that we think is going to happen never happen.
Yeah.
But we worry ourselves sick.
And don't forget, people worry about what other people
Exactly.
think. I think that is more profound.
I think you have a good point, and I like to call it the stop loss.
Thank you.
Because what happens is we give, I try to tell people, react to the situation by what it merits. So if someone just bumped you in the street and you upset about that the rest of the day, you need to examine where that's coming from.
Thank
Put a
you.
stop loss. It happened, you apologize, you keep walking.
Thank you.
But we carry it.
Yes.
It's like a mighty tree. A mighty tree will survive every storm. It will. But when it falls, it's because little tiny termites have eaten it from the inside, and that's what we do. We let the little things. We'll survive deaths of family members. We'll survive crises, unemployment, etc. But the little things, we allow that to eat us up.
From inside.
And I think that this book really teaches you that keep your ground fertile and keep your perfection unpolluted.
Okay, well, let me hear what
Of
your
course.
wife has to say, because she was getting worked up earlier.
No, when I read the book, I just had a lot of things in my mind with different subjects in the neighborhood. But this book opened me up to purge that out of you. That's poison. They don't matter to you. You matter to you.
Thank you.
You know? And I'm like, okay. And I was just enlightened by the book because it brought me closer to you. That there's somebody out there
In the
that knows,
neighborhood.
That's
in the
right.
neighborhood that knows what I'm talking about and what I'm feeling. And she's giving me the tools to purge that out of me. And I've been feeling so much better.
Good.
The skin is glowing.
That's right. Well, we
I
have an
thank you very
overdaughter. Tell her
much.
about the overdaughter where they're always calling you her sister.
Yeah, I got a 30-year-old,
Ooh.
and they think she's when she say "Ma," they look at me like "Ma."
Right.
I said, "Tanya, stop calling me Ma. Just say Jack." So it's been very, very good for me. You know, just to be enlightened by books that can take you far. And you don't have to be boggled down with the everyday and the garbage and the pollution and what people are trying to feed you.
Thank you.
Be your own self and have your own mind, and that's what I try to live by every day. And I thank you very much for this book.
Well, you know,
out
it's a
there.
challenge.
Yeah, it is an everyday
Because
challenge.
We've been
Of course.
conditioned, programmed, and we learn a lot of behavior from our family,
Exactly.
parents.
We've got to peel off all those layers.
The environment, the neighbors and stuff. So it's a lot. And this is why I explain to people when I do lectures, because I just started doing the homeless shelter for men in Connecticut, and they're looking at me like, you know, I changed overnight. And like, I'm expecting them to change overnight. I said, no.
No, it's a process. You're
It's a
absolutely
process. And I said, even though you stand back up and start moving forward, you will get knocked down again.
right. Absolutely.
But you get back up. And you're going to get knocked down again. And you get back up. And then it'll be less and less and less until you can stand. But I told them, just because they're in a situation at that moment, they don't have to stay stuck.
No.
Right.
And a lot of them feel stuck. And that was the saddest workshop I ever did in my life.
Yeah, you told us that you
it
felt
was
sick for 3 days after
for
that.
3 days. I did halfway house with the guys in Connecticut for on and off for years. Nothing like a homeless shelter. And they wanted me to do just the men. And to see the pain and to feel it and to look in their eyes, there was no hope left. Yeah. And to realize that some of them been there 10 years in the same homeless shelter.
Oh, wow.
10 years. And some of them 8 years, 6 years, 4 years, but that's a long time.
That's a real long.
That's a really
lifetime.
long. So they think this is it for them. So now they are reinforcing the law. 6 months, they got to get out of there. What do you think gonna happen to all those men and the women? Family is there too with the children, but I just was doing the workshop with the men. And some of them very talented, gifted. These was some of them professional people, had nice jobs, nice home, and they said they never thought they would wind up in that situation.
Right.
But my thing to them, and I forgot to open up with your speech at the park yesterday, but I use it for them. You are so powerful. Nobody can stop you but you. But nobody can start you
But you.
but you.
That's right, Ross.
So I open it up with it at the shelter, and I end it with them because they feel totally powerless. And the staff was really surprised that for 3 sessions, they stayed for over an hour and a half. Because they told me their attention span is 20 minutes.
Yeah, but they saw hope.
I didn't know that because I would have ended quicker. But they said, no, this is good. Because they said, other speaker come 20 minutes, they walked out. But it was really good, and I really enjoyed it because they was open to it, and they needed to hear, like you were saying yesterday, don't beat them down.
No, we can't do that.
We can't do it. They've been beaten down already by the system.
Got to reverse them.
So I told them, I'm you. I'm not in a shelter, but it doesn't make me better than you or less
No,
than
of course
you.
not.
And who's to say I could wind up like this?
That's right.
Because everybody got their experience that the soul need to go through to learn what it needs
Character
to
building.
learn. And this is what I keep telling them, that being there is an opportunity. But I say you have to decide what you can learn from this situation. Why? How did you get in this situation? Because you always got to go back to the core.
No, you got to go to the roots.
Nobody want to go to the root. So when I got them to understand that there's something unconsciously that they're not aware of, that they are manifesting, because there is no victims. I told them God didn't create victims. They're only volunteers.
No, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's one of the
'Cause
false
you-
beliefs
yeah.
in our communities.
Yeah, because you can have an experience, but we was taught to label it good or bad.
Exactly.
There is no such thing.
No, it isn't.
What it is, okay, what can I learn? Just like with the dis-ease.
Yes.
It was an opportunity for me to learn how did I created it? Why did I create it? And not knowing I had the power to reverse it.
To reverse it.
That's
That's what I'm talking
powerful.
Well, it's very
That's
powerful.
That's what I'm
Powerful.
talking about.
That's what I like to call the self-check.
Yeah.
We must do that at all
That
times.
we have this power within ourselves to change any situation. And it may not happen right away, but that's okay.
Well, there is no such thing as time for those kind of healings.
Thank you.
There really isn't.
Thank you.
Because then that in itself is a goal, and that's polluted. You know,
Yeah.
we don't set goals.
But I like
stay
that
on the path.
pollution thing. I never heard it that way.
Well, thank
Say
you,
it again
thank you.
before we end part 2.
Well, I like to believe that if we all sincerely believe that we're
Mm-hmm.
from the Creator, and the Creator cannot make anything polluted, that everything is in its perfection,
Okay.
then our journey of life should always be to try to be aware of keeping it from becoming polluted. Whether that's behavior, whether that's speech, whether that's negative attitude. That's the way I see it. And that's why we, as you said, we should always look at the goodness in everybody because it exists.
yes,
And if
it's
we're
there.
beating them down, we're not keeping the relationship
Thank
on
you.
an equal basis. And
Yeah.
as long as we're doing this or this, someone wins, someone loses. I like neutrality. Everybody wins.
Well, what was so good at the homeless shelter, because, you know, they're men. I'm female, so you know they're going to challenge me.
Of course.
And, you know, I talk a lot about faith, but I have real faith. A lot of people talk about faith, but they don't
That's right.
have real faith. Because to have faith and no trust in the Creator, it doesn't work.
No. Well, as we said yesterday, you have to believe in a miracle, and I dare say that if you believe in a miracle, if you believe in God, rather, or the Creator, you better believe in miracles.
Thank you.
You cannot believe in one and not believe in the other.
Yeah, because one of the guys, because he said, yeah, we hear you talking about all this positivity and faith and stuff, but we ain't got no money, we ain't got no, can't get no job, and you go for a job, they're racist, everything was negative. And he said, things don't just happen. So one of the guys who told me he was diabetic, he has cancer, and he's from Africa, he'd been there 4 years. He don't eat none of the food there because of all the chemical-based stuff. So he was just eating lettuce. When I left there, I called my son, both of them, and another friend that donated money. I went to the health food store, bought him everything he needed with the nutrient, even if he just put it in the water and juice and drink it, he'll get all the nutrient. And he had the organic food to put in the oven a couple minutes. And the guy said, oh, this is what you talking about. It was his best friend. And none of them knew I was going to